You are watching The Big Idea. I am Nancy Nalima. Welcome to the program. Our sign language interpreter for today is Josephine Oko. It has been 1 year and counting since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the country, and the president directed that all employers to allow their employees to work from home. And the big question we're asking you today is working from home working? With me on set is right next to me Kimani Patrick, CEO Calstick Group, and Sophie Mwane, CEO Employ. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Welcome on set. Let's have this conversation. So you run companies, therefore you're in charge of a number of people who are working under you. So Sophie, you can tell us when the COVID-19 first hit, how did your company adjust?
Thank you so much, Nelima, for having me today for this conversation, to share our experience on how we've managed and survived as a company through the COVID crisis. So when COVID first hit, I think the priority was ensuring everybody's safe. I think at the time we thought it was a temporary thing, sort of. So, of course, we immediately instigated a working from home framework because we had not put in enough measures for sanitization and social distancing in the office. The team was still large. So yes, we immediately started working from home. And I know of a lot of companies that did that, others that laid off workers, and a lot of other initiatives just, of course, again, to manage costs, because also business wasn't looking good at the time.
Okay, yes, Kimani, in the wake of COVID-19, social distancing was not very possible in many workplaces.
So, when COVID came, lucky for me, we had already started working home. Close to 9 months earlier, that is in 2019. So,
we're ahead of time.
Yes, around 9 months earlier.
Okay.
But the challenge was we were planning to open an office in Abuja. That was in April. And what happened is we had to, make changes and postpone that plan, which we later suspended entirely. And everyone continued to work from home. And at that time, I was working with an agile team on a need basis, and while other companies laid off and continued to, right-size their teams, one of the things that actually happened for us is we had full-time people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that is different from what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
Does this mean that the COVID didn't hit the economy? And didn't hit your company?
Of course it did, because what happened is there's people who are always looking for excuses, and part of the challenges we faced at that time is the clients that we're working on. In as much as some of the projects that we were working on were suspended, Calstick is a corporate communications agency, so we help people work on their communication strategies, events, and all that, while at the same time we run a business magazine. So one of the things that we're working on, some of the things that we're working on with our clients were suspended. Some of the contracts were put to a halt, and most of the companies that are working with said now there is COVID, there is shortage of cash, and some paid, others delayed payments, and others defaulted on their payments. But having said that, that happened, of course, being a communications agency, there was an increase in the need for companies going online, for companies creating content, and that was an opportunity, or has been an opportunity for us, and that is what now necessitated us to have even content people.
Yeah, so it was an advantage for you because now you're put in the spotlight.
Exactly.
Because more companies needed to be seen now on social media more than
online.
ever.
Companies go where people are, and when people went home, they started going online, and that is where we were helping people to maximize their potential. And right there is where our need as an agency came in, and that is why now companies started requiring more of our services and required an increased workforce.
Okay, yes. And Sophie, so did you lay off any of your employees?
No, for us we didn't lay off anyone, but We sent some people on leave, sales teams, because there wasn't a lot of sales that we were handling at the time. So yeah, those ones went on leave.
Also, there was
They
not
took
much
their-
activity for them.
Yes, they didn't have a lot of activities, but we had other teams in development, in marketing, in strategy, just trying to figure out now, like, what is the right way forward.
Okay, and then the statistics, according to the United States report of 2019 and going to 2020, it says that companies spend over $10,000 on office space. And a lot of people have seen, then you don't have to spend money on office space. What are your thoughts, Kimani?
Well, one, it is projected, or by March last year it was projected that 1.3 billion people all over the world will work from home. And definitely, when you discover that you can have an agile team, you can work in a gig way whereby you hire staff based on projects, while at the same time there is teams which can work entirely from home. Therefore, that means that you also right size your office space. You do not need a lot of 1,000 square feet space, while 500 square feet can work for you. And definitely that means most people are working from home entirely and others are working in shifts. That definitely means that your workspace will also go low, or it will minimize the workspace that you need, and that means you will save on your office expenditure. The team that works from home will save on their commuter expenses, fare, and those who fuel their cars and everything. While at the same time, investors in the real estate sector will definitely experience a pain because their spaces are continually becoming empty by the day.
Okay.
So those are the effects of now working from home. Of course, there are benefits. There are also some more challenges out of that. I don't know whether you want me to speak about that right now.
We'll talk about that shortly.
All right.
And Sophie, I would like to hear, so you have been working full-time from the office.
No, we did work from home last year for a month. Yes.
So why did you choose then to go back to the office?
It wasn't working for us. And I think the experience on whether working from home works or not for an organization, in my perspective, is largely based on the industry or of the company and the size of the organization. So for us, we are a startup. They say we're building a bike as we ride it. Okay, so there are people who are building the wheels, those who are building the handles, and it's a lot of experimentation and a lot of learning and collaboration in the process. So yeah, for us, because we are highly interconnected as a team, we engage a lot as a team. We found that working from home was a huge challenge. I've seen a lot of organizations that have done it and it worked well for them. But I've seen organizations within the NGO space, and you can see my friends who work for government and all that, in maybe administrative or clerical capacities, and you find these are organizations with years of experience and processes and protocol, and they are not trying to grow beyond what they are. So it's pretty much standard what you're supposed to do. You have a supervisor who tells you you're supposed to deliver on this. So yeah, for them I've seen it work so well. I've also seen startups that have tried working from home like ourselves. I have a friend whose team has worked from home the entire time. So in fact, yesterday we were having a chat. And yes, he says it somehow works, but it's extremely challenging for them. Because himself as the CEO, he has a lot of, there's a lot of oversight and management needed in that process. And he feels like it's totally gotten him from this space where he was more strategic and forward-looking and trying to be creative to figure out other solutions beyond like what they're doing. But now he's just in the grind with people day over day trying to figure out like, so has this been handled? What's the status of this? And I don't think it's an issue of them lacking the right technology, because funny enough, they are a technology firm that provides solutions in workforce management.
Okay.
Yes.
And most tech companies, the ones who are working from home, like even Twitter, Google, they said the employees never have to go to the office if they don't want to. So again, I'd like you to respond to that, Kimani. Does this then suit only specific industries and not general?
I actually agree on that because, for example, if you run a restaurant, you can't tell your waitresses to work from home, right? if you're a news anchor like yourself, you're a media person, you can't work from home. I mean, you can't host a show like this from home unless it is from Zoom, and that makes it really difficult for some industries to work from home. While at the same time, like what Sophia said, some organization, let's say you are an audit firm, you are looking at books, you are a technology firm, your work is coding or creating a website or providing such kind of a solutions, you really do not need to get into an office to do that. Or let's say you are corporate communications firm like ourselves, some of the things that we do, I mean, you do not need to come to the office to copyright an advert or to write an article or to write a feature. So it suits some types of organizations, others it does not suit, but the major challenge is collaboration, because when you come on location, you work in an office setup, it's totally different than when you're working from home. For example, if you hire someone today, or an organization that hires somebody today, it is really difficult for this person to get ingrained into the company culture. Company culture is not something like you write down as a mission or a vision. It's something that it's developed as you move.
You gotta come in and experience it.
It is experiential.
Okay.
So this new employee will not be able to experience the company culture. There will be a disconnect between him or her with other colleagues. They have not met at any given place apart from Zoom. And some of these Zoom meetings, she can bear me witness, some people are going on Zoom meetings when they're still in their bed. So it is really difficult to work from home, while at the same time, let's say you have a family, you have a spouse who does not support you, or you have toddlers, or you reside in a very noisy environment, so it does not feel work-like, unlike while working from the office. And therefore, somebody who does not have a big environment to work from at home and does not have a very good work ethic, it will be difficult for them. And at the same time, she runs a recruitment agency. She knows that it is really difficult to promote staff. How do you evaluate when doing appraisals and such while somebody is working entirely
so
from
then
home?
That becomes very hard.
It is
so there's
really
still a
difficult.
place for the personal appeal.
Of course, that is why even in other areas apart from business, people need to go on dates and meet in person. I mean, you need to experience the person. When you speak with someone, you want to, read their nonverbal cues. It's not just what they're saying, it's not just what they're doing, but even how they're doing it. And even the relationship that you have with the people, it's what really matters.
So it's again not just about getting the work done, but also now the process.
Working is actually a process. It's not just the doing itself, because even who you do with and how you do it also matters. When collaborating, when we are working on a project, let's say right now here, it's totally different than when I'm at home and you're at home. I have to call you, I have to fix my internet issues and such kind of thing. There's a lot of inconvenience when you're working from home, but when you're working from the office, everything is streamlined. When you have an issue, I don't need to call you, I don't need to text you. I'll just walk up to your desk and tell you, hey, we need to fix this.
We need this cable replaced.
Yeah, it's really easy. Or I need you to check up on this, we need to work on this report. But maybe I call you, you're at home, your phone is on silent, there is no electricity at home, there is internet issues, such kind of things make it really difficult to collaborate.
Okay.
But if you have a good work ethic, you have a good proper work set up at home, you can actually work from home. But that works majorly for people who have done freelance work and people who are willing to try out something different. Because at the same time, if you're working from home and you're employed, you discover that work that used to take 8 to 5, you can actually do it for 3 hours, and therefore that means you can take up the other hours to work on a side job, or you can get 2 or 3 more jobs. That is to the side of people who are employed, but to the employers, it's a little bit more difficult to ensure there is productivity among their team members, and that the time that they're supposed to be at work, they're actually doing work they're employed to do.
Okay, and you mentioned productivity. So Sophie, for you, the 1 month that you tried allowing your employees to work from home, what was the productivity like?
We weren't measuring it at the time because it was more creative work. Okay, so we were trying to build new features and trying to test them out in the market to see whether the market will pick them up, because we were not sure about the future of recruitment. Okay, and so this process takes a lot of individual creativity and just that grit and drive. Okay, and like he says, efficiency or productivity goes really low in a situation where your brain is not really streamlined with a proper routine. You know, the reason why you find like military guys are highly effective is because their job is highly routine based. And I think once your brain masters these routines, then it can deliver like so well. But you see, when you're working from home, like he says, unless you've been doing it before, if it's just a new concept and you've not figured out the routine, you're still trying to do this and that and that, you find yourself being way less efficient and way less focused. So, and I think that was one of the reasons we were not really seeing a lot of headways. You would like follow up with marketing, and the reports will not be, because we would have meetings throughout the day on our internal tool that we were using at the time, not Zoom, and it was a bit crazy. Even having this morning team buildings, you know, like setting up the entire process will take 2 hours. Where is Derek? Why is Derek not on the call anymore? And then Derek has internet issues. Derek has carried his laptop, is with it on the streets, and it's a lot of chaos, you know. So 2 hours later, you are settling down to do the team building, and the vibe is just already mixed up already. And then so we found out at the end of 1 month, because we were not really making headways, we said, you know what, let's go back to the office. And when we went back to the office, there was a tremendous change in the delivery, and
So you'd say for your kind of your sector, the industry that you work in, that it's best for people to work from the office?
Maybe I'm not that exposed, I'll admit. Probably if I had worked within Google and seen how well work from home works, I would have a different opinion. But yes, from the experience I've had over the last 1 year, and from also interacting with other players in the space, working from home when your job is highly aggressive and intense, and it needs people thinking on their feet and stuff like that, it becomes a bit of a challenge. And you see, like he says, the issue around creating company culture, human beings are also very social beings, you know. I see it myself nowadays. I told you about the traffic on Mombasa Road. So sometimes if I woke up a bit late, I would say, okay, so instead of wasting 2 hours on traffic one way, 2 hours back, I'll try working from home. And yes, there is just some level of exhaustion and draining you go through by the end of the day that you don't go through at the office, you know. And probably it's because I've not created a healthy routine around work for myself at home. You see, at the office, I'll get in, have a coffee, say hi to team members, you know. Some of those small cues really energize and activate you. There's the lunch break, guys can have lunch together and stuff like that, and you find these things can really push you to work up until maybe 9 p.m. or whatever time. But working from home, there's just that draining aspect that you feel, although also admittedly sometimes you feel like you accomplish a lot, but at the end of the day you're just like, tomorrow I'll go to the office.
Okay, and so the infrastructure has to be put in place first, and maybe people have to go through some sort of learning experience, because right now there are videos all over YouTube how to work best from home, 10 tips, 6 tips, so many, because people have realized that it can be a challenge if you're not used to planning your day yourself. Now you've been told this is your day, deliver this. How do you go about it? Yes.
That's me. Well, working from home again, it's not for everyone. I mean, there is people who, when they're alone, they get more stressed and they are prone to getting into depression, and they need people around them, and probably the neighbors that they live with are not really that hospitable, or they're not really close together. So such kind of a person will definitely need to get into the office and bond with other people. But well, at the same time, if and when we're forced to work from home, I mean, everyone has to take it as a work. I mean, you used to wake up at 5 or 6 or 7 so that you can prepare to come to work. You have your breakfast early, you are in the office 8 to 1, and then you have a lunch break, and then from 2 to 5 you're at work. It should be the same replicated at home. You do not need to just wake up, you're in your pajamas or whatever, you've not even taken breakfast and you're getting into a meeting at 9 a.m. I mean, wake up early, prepare for the day as if you're going to work, dress up for work, because being in a workly environment, if you normally work in a suit, wear that suit.
No, wear
because
sweats.
yeah, you will feel like you are at work, while at the same time set up a specific location where there is minimal distraction. I mean, do not set up your workspace unless you are living in a bedsitter. Do not set up your workspace in next to bed. I mean, there is always be temptation to let me take a 5-minute nap, let me take a 10-minute nap, and those naps take hours, not a few minutes. I mean, so setting up a specific location where there is minimum distraction for work. At the same time, even when setting up that space, ensure you have a good, comfortable working desk and a seat, a chair. And when you have done that, also organize your day. What are some of the must-dos that has to be accomplished that day? Who do you need to call? Who do you need to text? Who do you need to email? Whose collaboration is needed? That will ensure that you actually have your day organized, and you'll ensure that you accomplish what you need to accomplish when it needs to be accomplished. Yeah. Okay.
And when people can work from home and still be productive and do their side hustles, like you mentioned, Kimani, then they're saying, oh, our employers are now envious because now we can do other hustles and they don't have to keep us in the office like they used to till 5. Yes. Are employers envious of their employees now?
I don't know if they are. I don't think employees are factors of production. You don't get envious of your factors of production. Okay. They are your tools for making money. What I think is, I don't think if this is related to the question anyway, but it's something that I just wanted to mention. The increased incorporation of the digital world into our activities actually comes with a new set of challenges, which I don't think a lot of people have realized. And I think because the lowered aspect of the human part in a digital engagement, then I find the people within that space need to implement more to bump up the quality of that engagement. What I mean by this one is I've seen these, okay, of course in my field where we do a lot of interviews on Zoom, okay? And if we have a situation when we're doing an interviews on Zoom for the same position and we have others face-to-face, the face-to-face guys always outperform the Zoom guys. I don't know if you've done that and noticed.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I meet you in person, I have to like you more than when I see you on a video which is not even clear. I have to ask you, can you hear me? I can't see you.
Exactly.
Position the camera better because now you're facing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you see, those are some of the new or emerging aspects, because who we are in terms of personal interactions and how our brains have adapted to this has taken like lots of years to come to this place, thousands of years. The digital revolution is pretty much recent. So like I always tell people, if I'm to have, let's say, a meeting on Zoom, I have to have my communication skills way up there. I cannot afford just the laxity or just the chilling down that happens if I'm meeting you for a coffee in a restaurant, okay? Mm-hmm. So maybe some of these dynamics also spill over to just how we interact in working from home now in terms of the meetings and just engaging projects.
Okay, and at this point we'll take a break and you will respond to if you are envious of your employees, not if they have more time to go back and do their side hustles. And we want you to engage with us using the SMS number 20374. Is working from home working for you? We're taking a short break. Don't go too far. Thank you so much for staying with Look Up TV or watching The Big Idea. And today we're talking about working from home. 1 year later, how is it for employers? Is working from home really working? You can engage with us using the SMS number 20374. And with me on set is Kimani Patrick, CEO Caustic Group, and Sophie Mwale, CEO Employee. And in between the break, we were talking about now that people are working from home. So if you recruit new members of staff, then do you pay them less? Yes, Kevin.
Oh, for me, yes and no. Depends on what they're working on. For us, we've had an experience of working from home for the longest time. But of course, when you hire somebody who is entirely and is supposed to entirely work from home, you do not have you do not have control of knowing what they're doing off work. When they're not at work, the normal contracts, she has an experience in that, runs 8 to 5, but somebody who is working entirely from home, do you still maintain the same contract? Do you give them the same contract, or their pay is based on results? I mean, if you meet your results, this is how much I'll be able to pay you. If you do not meet your result, this is what will happen. Like commission based, like salespeople. Sophie can talk about that in regards to other people whose pay is not on commission. Let's say, for example, administrative people, people in the administration, HR, people in accounts, people in operations, people in strategy who can work on a freelance or based on what they work on. I think she has an upper hand on talking about that since she's into HR more than I am. Yeah.
Okay, yes, Sophie, what are your thoughts?
In terms of pay, of course, salaries are just market forces determined, right? For most roles, unless we are talking about maybe casual work positions where the government has a hand in determining what these people need to be paid. But we are talking about the corporate space, so it's market force determined and it's demand and supply determined. So yes, you could get someone if their skills are really in high demand and if you really need also them for your role, and they may get both to work from home and you will still pay them more, right? Or it's all based now on the negotiations that you will have at that recruitment stage. But like I said, for ourselves, we've still retained our pay scale because we've been largely working from the office. And also the other thing about that determines pay scale, of course, is looking at the cost of living and what your employee needs to fully cover their expenses.
Very important.
Yes, so those are factors that all come into consideration now when determining and negotiating what you're going to pay for a particular position.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can we say that working from home has made people realize that sometimes in the office, once you're done with what you're supposed to do, then you go on YouTube and maybe place your computer very strategic so that when the boss walks in, they can't see because you're done with your work and now you're on YouTube and you're just looking at totally different things. So are we now seeing the value of time with working from home, such that if someone is done with the specific work they had been assigned, then they can definitely get into other things?
So immediately what happens, and it is the one we use, I can't really recall it, but what happens is if you schedule a particular project to run for a week or for a month, it will take exactly that time. And that is why you find maybe somebody has only one task to do at the office, then that work will be delivered at 5 p.m. But when they are at home, they're able to deliver this particular piece of work in an hour or 2 or 3, and they're able to, maximize their time for leisure and certain activities. So yes, people are realizing more of what they are capable of doing because they are more in charge of their time, unlike when they're at work. Because when you're at work, you will not be able to be seen walking out of the office at 1 unless you're a salesperson, or walking out at 4. You have to leave at 5. But when you're at home, you are, unless you're lazy, you are more inclined to finishing up your work quickly so that you can be able to do some other work like side hustles we were talking about
and also get some free time. If you watch movies or that YouTube, you get time for it. And like now when you are in the office, you have to always keep your eye on the side. The boss is coming, you can't do anything else. But at home you work as quickly as you can, you finish, and then you go into other things, unless you're lazy.
Yes, so do you think then a lot of time could be wasted in the office, given that you are supposed to be seen? You come in at 8 or 9 and you leave at 5.
I think that falls back to the question of work culture that we just spoke about earlier. As an employer, you should strive to get a workforce that is dedicated to its roles, whether you are looking over their shoulder or not. And in that case, it may not matter whether they are working from home or working from the office. But there are two things around doing what you need to do very fast and moving to. I really don't know if there are people who work from home that do side hustles, because I think that may be risky because depending on the contract that you sign as an employee, you have official dedicated work hours. If your HR finds out, especially maybe for companies that use software to track your activity, if they find out that you were not working maybe for half a day, then depending on how far they can go, it can either be a disciplinary issue or a termination. Okay? If you get into the temptation to do a side hustle, again, depending on the contract that you signed, a lot of contracts forbid employees from engaging other companies or other activities while they are under their payroll. So still, it's not something that I think we can freely discuss or even give advice on because that's a legal issue. To me, I think the perfect work ethic in this case, and this will depend on whether the employer had built the culture for proper work ethics in the first place. Work is never finished, right? And the perfect work ethic in this case will be a situation where yes, you may finish up on what you assigned, but then you find out like where else can we offer value in this setup that you are in.
There's always something to do.
There is always something to do. And in my company, I've lost a lot of good employees. And anytime I lose someone good, I'm always happy for them. Especially if they are going for greener pastures. The reason for this is because these people have gotten to a point where they can deliver so well and they know how they get to have content to communicate that even when they're at an interview. So assuming now this is the greener pastures interview, you know, and the employers can definitely see this is some really valuable employee to get on board. When you have this other setup where now the employee tries to do this, do that, and do the other thing, number one, they will not be efficient in any of those. I've seen even an employee who has a job and applies for scholarship does not succeed in either, you know, has disciplinary issues and performance issues at work, and the scholarships are not coming forth. It's just the way the universe is structured. And they may end up losing their job, or they may not lose their job, but then they become part of the pool of employees that are just there. Nobody really values them, not yourself and not other employers out there. So I think the best strategy for me is if your employer is not doing proper workforce planning, where they know how many man hours are needed to go into a project, because your employer of course has the responsibility to give you enough work to last you the 8 hours per day as per the contract that you have. But if that has not happened because of whatever gaps they exist in the organization, the course of action that's likely to reward the employee better in the long term is negotiating or talking to the boss or trying to figure out like, so where else can I offer value in the course of my day.
And it looks like the employees that employ are disciplined.
They are good, and I lose them. I really do lose them, by the way. And when they go, I'm like, okay, I'm really, really happy for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about one of the things that stood out during this pandemic, the 1 year and counting period, is gender-based violence cases across 47 counties and even beyond in the world. So the welfare of employees especially those who are working from home, do you then as CEOs try to find out, or is there a mechanism? Do you have a psychologist on board?
One of the key things that is really important for every team leader, you really do not need to be a CEO, but as long as you are responsible for a group of people, even if it's one person, is getting to know this person that you work with or this person that you lead. How do they lead their life? It may be intrusion in a way, but you get to know how is their home environment. Do they have a sick person? Do they live in a toxic environment? How is their mental state every single day? Are they sick? What are they suffering from? Have they been exposed? These kind of things. And at the same time, every other week or every other time, I know there are some organizations that are here hiring counselors or mental health people at the organizations. Small companies like us may not be able to have, but it is good to have someone check on your employees, get to know what challenges are they facing every single day. Getting that personal connection with them, getting through with them in that unlike years before when we were young, the bosses were feared. You see your boss and you're like, wow, I need to get serious.
I need to be proper.
Yes, you need to get to a point where you're closer to them, they see you as a friend, and they are able to approach you when they're having any issue, either work or personal life related. And that way you're able to track and be able to know what help do they need at their personal level and what at work level.
Yes, Sophie, are there some things that you're doing to ensure that the mental state of your employees is in check?
Yeah, so basically our team really supports each other. That's the kind of environment that we have. And beyond that, of course, we have a lot of activities to just take a breather activities, whether we'll meet out for nyama choma or something. And it's those small things that prevent the build-up of mental tension. Of course, we know a lot of organizations that are in a position to who are now hiring maybe mental health experts and therapists or just on standby for their team members. But yes, any employer need to think about the holistic needs of their employees, and not just the financial but the psychological as well, and see if there are measures they can put in place to just improve the welfare of them in that aspect. Yeah.
And for employers, so where do they draw the line? How do you become friendly but not too friendly to the extent that now the employees might joke around with what they're supposed to do?
Well, friendliness is not really a key factor of production in the workplace. The right environment is not a factor of how well you as an individual relate to them. The right key ingredient in this place is that have you set up a proper communication structure, whether it's bottom up or top down, whether it's complaints management. What kind of structures have you set up in place as a company to address employee issues? It will depend also on your employee welfare planning. Like what are you providing them now for welfare? And these structures and systems that you set up is what will either free, and of course the culture issue that we spoke about, it will free up the workplace or close up the workplace. So you see, an employee doesn't need to come and tell you, I'm having problems with my wife. They need to have a system where if they are too stressed out, the HR can pick that up and see whether they can cancel and how to support, number one. Number two, they can also have, if the work culture is free, they will definitely have one or two people among their colleagues, because they are likely to strike friendships easier with their colleagues than they are with the boss. Yeah. So having those systems is fine. It's way better and more efficient than you just trying to be like friends with them. Also, again, it doesn't mean if you have a work or task-driven environment, then you cannot have either open communication or build relations with one or even all of your team members. A simple hi sometimes suffices. meetings where you communicate your commitment to listening to their needs and all that. If that is well communicated, then employees will approach you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, you want to respond to that?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. So let's look at the future of work. What is it really going to really look like? Because there's the working from home. Definitely, the attitude we used to have towards work has changed. Now that we need to incorporate a lot of things, and also now companies had to adopt the digital. They had to go digital in order to find their place in the market right now. So what does the future look like, Kimberly?
Well, the future looks like this: a place where lots and lots of more people want to work from home. They will be looking for short-term contracts, and like where people wanted a security or job guarantee for 20 years. Most people want to, short-term contracts, 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, or a place where they are not restricted, where one can be able to take up 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 jobs at a go. This is something that is happening in other countries, in other parts of the world outside Africa, and some people even in Kenya are doing it. Where if I'm an accountant or I'm a PR person, I want to engage with you on a contract basis. Instead of me working for you full time, I want you to be giving me some projects I work on, I deliver, I work for another person, I deliver, and then I get paid based on my productivity, based on my results, other than the normal where you just show up, you don't give them work to do, or you just deliver. Some people just deliver work constantly because, I'm waiting for the end of the month to just get paid. We are looking at a place where organizations will be hiring agile teams based on projects. You have a project coming up for the next 6 months, you set up a team for it. It's done, you dismantle that team, and you reassign the roles to other projects that are coming up. So that is how the future looks like. It's really beautiful. People need to do a lot of adjustments. We need to come up with strategies that are flexible, that you can change over time, because COVID is not the only pandemic that is here. It's just here to teach us and help us to get ready for more bigger pandemics that are coming up. Yeah.
Okay, Sophie.
I hope not.
I love the fact that you just hope, but it's something that is coming up.
Yeah. I think I agree with my colleague here when he says that yes, the workforce probably will be more agile in future. Of course, there is a bit more technology getting into it, but again, I think the hype around the future of work is a bit bigger than the changes expected in the future.
I think there's so much being talked about.
Exactly. That's just my personal opinion, but I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, and now that we have faced one pandemic and totally unprepared for it, and different industries shut down completely, but you managed to survive the pandemic. So, just to stay ready, what are some of the measures that you've taken, not anticipating another virus, but just to cushion yourself, just in case of anything, given that you've experienced this COVID-19 pandemic? Yes, Kimberly.
Well, one thing I've learned about COVID is to always get ready for anything, and therefore one of the things that I've been doing is setting up strategies and objectives and plans that are really flexible. The worst can happen any day. Tomorrow who can wake up and decide everyone to stay at home? How are we going to deliver our services? How do we deliver our services in that they will be needed, whether people are entirely working from home completely or things are restricted here and there. So it is a time to really get to think a lot in terms of future-proof concepts, future-proof solutions, that whether or not anything happens, the solutions that you offer, the products that you offer, the products that we offer at Castic will continue being in demand or on demand. Yeah.
Yes, if you can respond to that.
Yeah. So one thing about entrepreneurs is that we are eternally optimistic. So of course, off the top of my head, the hope is that we don't have any more pandemics, and despite knowing how volatile also regulation and governments have been around the question of pandemic, we also are eternally hopeful that these are not too disruptive. So yes, that is one thing. But that said, I think the only thing that drives us forward is that not just strategies for ourselves. We are always looking at how better we can provide solutions, or how better we can serve people who've been affected by the pandemic. We just coincidentally happen to be within the most impactful sector in Africa, that is job placement, the job sector. But we, even if we were not in a critical industry as this, I think we will still find ways to just be generally supportive of our audience in case of any uncertainties. And we don't build, the strategy that we have is that having this as our guiding call, knowing that when called upon, we will rise up to support. And of course, ingrained in us is the DNA of learning very fast and building as we move. So we know even if the aliens landed tomorrow, which we've not planned for, I think by Saturday we'll have some solution around, some version of a solution for the alien invasion.
Yeah, it's good for us to stay very dynamic.
Yes. So maybe we'll be providing training on alien dynamics and dealing with aliens and avoiding arrest or something like that.
Okay, and now as we conclude, so for employees, then the message then changes as well, because many people have lost their jobs. So do you then encourage them to get more skills so they can survive the current market?
Skills are very important. And I mean, things are changing every single day. Like she mentioned, the aspect of entrepreneurship is not about what you do, but how you do it. I mean, being innovative in the way including even the way you wake up, the way you sleep. I mean, there's a way you do it in a totally different way than anyone else that makes you more productive and more alert all the time. So, one, what you studied in school is not enough to, pull you through life. I mean, things are changing every single day, new concepts are coming up every single day. Some skills will become, or are fast increasingly becoming extinct. More skills are required. More ways of doing things is changing. But one thing that I've learned, or which really drives every single person that wants to grow their career, that wants to grow their business, as a leader, whether you're leading yourself or you're leading other people, is three things. One, how quick can you make informed decisions? Decision making is really important as long as you want to progress and to grow. Then number two, how quick are you able to leverage on other people's skills, resources, and time? And then number three, how easy is it for you to delegate? Delegate and ensure that the person you've delegated some piece of work to and fully understands what you expect from them. I mean, in as much as everything else is changing, those three things will ensure that you're always on the forefront and be able to do things quick and be able to be more productive and produce better and great results.
And higher chances of surviving.
Of course.
West Africa makes sense. Yes, Sophie.
Advice for employees. I think yes, being open. I would advise people to be open-minded. What else can you do? And then self-reflect. What other skills do you have? Where else can you apply them? Look beyond your industry. Look beyond your study field, and just see where else can you offer value in the economy. So I'll tell you what. In as much as employment has generally gone lower and all that, there are still a lot of people who are recruiting. So how else can you mesh yourself now into these new upcoming industries? What is it, a new skill that you need to learn? Is it a mental realignment that you need to go through? I think that's one of the key advice I will give out to people who are looking for work. But also, most importantly, is when you have a job, I would advise, like, you put your best foot forward. It's easier to retain a job than to get a new job. So
Very true.
yes.
Mhm.
I mean, right now I wouldn't even deal with an employee who's giving me hell, because you know what? If I could get someone else out there that I know, I may even end up cutting costs, paying less. Eh?
Of course, yes.
Yes, so it's not a really tough
Can relate.
decision.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And thank you. That is Sophie Mwale, CEO Employee,
Mm.
and of course Kimani Patrick, CEO Castic Group. I am Nancy Nalima, and our sign language interpreter for today has been Josephine Ouko. It has been an interesting conversation about working from home. Is it really working? And we can continue with the conversation on social media and of course using the SMS number 20374. Thank you for watching.